by the name of Okahumpke, since I've been doing living history presentations since 1986. Sometimes I'm nomadic, but currently I'm down at Collier Seminole State Park down near Naples, between Naples and Everglades City, so I'm actually living and working in the area where the Seminoles and Miccosukee Indians are today. How I interpret a certain people and culture is more than just dressing up. You're having to actually get inside the head of somebody who can't necessarily speak because they've been gone a long time, so you have to piece together like a puzzle or a mystery, look for the clues that tell who they are through either archaeology or written records. My mom was an anthropologist, and so she always had all these neat books and things about the Native Americans, and from there kind of hard to say exactly what started me out, since I've been in it for so long now. And scouting, got into the Native American War and clothing, and also got into black powder, and so I started doing the reenactments. But soon after I got into, I started reading all the books I can on the subject and developed quite a large library. And I soon found out that I didn't really care so much for the black powder as I did the living history and telling people about how somebody lived years and generations ago. In the early 1980s, several of us who were in scouting and the reenactments kind of got together and started researching the clothing from they had in the paintings and pictures that were available, contemporary images from the 19th century. And I had some friends that actually went to museums and studied the different garments and clothings that still exist in museum collections, examined how it was sewed together. From there you also examine clothing that's contemporary, not with the Native Americans, but the other American population at the time, what all people wore, and kind of compare how it's put together to see who borrowed from who on how to sew a garment together. There is some books out on examples of what type of patterns and fabrics they had in the 19th century. So from that I go into fabric stores. There's some that do have reproduction historic textiles, but also modern stores might have fabric styles that are the same pattern that you would have found back in the 19th century. I have a shirt here. This is your basically style undershirt made out of linen, and then I have a linen overcoat or smock that I made. Now this one I tried dyeing. Originally I tried dyeing it red, but the red didn't work out too well. It came out pink, so I immediately dyed it brown there. And here's another shirt I have, standard, and these can be in any period from the mid to late 1700s up to the mid 1800s. And then getting some other style fabrics, I have a shirt here. This pattern is actually very old style pattern there. These what we call handprints, goes back way a lot further in history. I have simple patterns here. This has little white dots on a burgundy background. But from there I went and started to get fabric that was pretty wild, that a lot of the other reenactors say that I stole the sofa cushion from a French bordello. My favorite one, which is the last coat I made for myself, this is fabric that's actually imported from England. You can see how colorful it is. I made a coat out of that, showing that people didn't have simple style clothing actually, but we see in some of the paintings and images of the Seminoles from the 19th century that they also went for the very best in trade item, the best fabric, the best clothing. Looking on the trading list, they traded for just about any type of fabric you'd imagine. For stripping, adding color, this before Rick-Rack came around, but I have one here, and this the traditional Seminole Miccosukee colors, the four colors, the white, black, red, and yellow. Now this really why I had to take the longest time putting together, because I get some strips of material. Here I have some black material and some red material, and this actually remains of other shirts and clothing that I made. And I can sew it into one long strip here, and this is actually 4 different colors or strips on the back. This is actually the most time consuming of what I do on the coats. The finishings and decorations seem to take more time than sewing on the sleeves or any of the other parts of the garments. For the Seminoles, they wore turbans, and it would function not only for covering their head and protecting them from the sun. One story is that in the folds they could put small items in the folds because they didn't necessarily have pockets other than the pouches they were wearing. But the material I like to use for turbans is silk. I have 3 different silk scarves here. I have one that's plain red silk scarf, and I have a blue color here, and I have a yellow which actually has a Scottish pattern on it. And they would use scarves or shawls or material like that to make their turbans. I never really thought of myself as an expert because there's plenty of people who know things that I don't. But just getting into this, I just hope to make them correctly and do the right historical persona, the right clothing, and do it accurately. And after doing it for so many years, I guess I've become an expert because people are asking me to make clothing for them, or even the Seminole tribe had me make a few coats for their displays, which is really an honor beyond belief for me. People are isolated in today's society. They grow up in cities that are sort of environments unto themselves. They're totally disconnected with their surroundings, and I think that's bad because you have to learn about your environment around you, and that's an issue about survival. Learning about the native cultures or the Seminoles culture has taught me about survival in the area that I live around. And not only that, it tells me about myself, about who I am, where I'm from, where I'm going. And I think that's very important. A lot of people don't know that, and they don't learn that in the modern culture.